This episode is brought to you by Peacock. The new Peacock original documentary, Matthew Perry, A Hollywood Tragedy, dives deep into the beloved actor's rise to fame and his tragic death. 5 people, including Perry's personal assistant, 2 medical doctors, and an alleged Hollywood drug dealer known as the Ketamine Queen, were charged with conspiracy to illegally provide Perry with the ketamine. Explore the details of the case in this heartbreaking special, streaming now only on Peacock.
Today on CityCast Denver, thousands of Denverites who work for the federal government have been living under the looming threat of quote-unquote government efficiency. But what exactly is at stake? And is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Me and Breen, one of our favorite regular guests, are talking about all things DOGE in Denver, plus the airport's 30th anniversary and all our wins and fails of the week. Today is Friday, February 28th. I'm Paul Caroli, and here's what Denver's talking about. Welcome back to CityCast Denver, the show about the city where the local coffee chain Huckleberry Roasters is opening its 8th location in an old shuttered Starbucks on Colorado Boulevard. Let's just hope this new crew can get Bree's order right.
Yeah. Hey, Huckleberry's never messed up my order, to be fair.
Good.
I actually brought this story to the team, by the way. I thought it was really cool. I think Huckleberry has appeared in some neighborhoods and continued to be a part of the community and stay there. And I think that's awesome.
You're a Huckleberry fan?
I am. I was very skeptical when they opened their Northside location. But to be fair, I think they opened it in a thing that had been nothing for decades.
It's that one that was it's got a big wide open space out in the front.
It was probably an old gas station or something.
I think that's what it is, yeah. I used to go there on my way to Mile High Comics.
Oh, yeah, the big warehouse.
I would bike over and I would hit the coffee shop. Or no, I would go to the comic shop and then I would, read the comics and get a coffee.
What's your go-to drink there?
I mean, I'm just a vanilla latte person. I'm pretty basic. But if I go to Starbucks, I have a crazy long order. But I don't do that at regular coffee shops.
Well, I was going to say, how much is their cold brew? I like to judge coffee shops based on how much their cold brew is. Because I feel like a cold brew, pretty easy to make. It should be the cost of a drip coffee. Some of these places, $6-7.
That's too much. That's too much. Is it more labor? I don't know anything about this.
I don't know. I feel like coffee can be a little bit of a sham sometimes.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, everyone's got their taste. It is worth it for some people to get some specific. Anyway, I'm not defending this.
I would
don't
just say,
get involved,
I'm not a drinker, so this is where I spend my money. People pay $17 for a cocktail. I pay $8 for coffee. That's my argument.
I do have one gripe with Huckleberry, actually. What's that? Yeah, they opened on Larimer Square, so I sometimes stop in there. And I got a yogurt parfait from them. Tell me if you think this is crazy, because I took a bite of this and I was like, this is wrong, guys. They made their parfait with uncooked, raw, rolled oats.
Oh, no.
Rolled oats?
No, they're supposed to be toasted or cooked.
Right?
Usually,
toasted
to me, it's
into
cinnamon
granola.
sugar granola flavor.
And I was like, this is wrong.
Ew,
and they were like,
really
some
gross.
people like it that way. And I was like, I don't.
Show me these some people.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think I've ever had a parfait.
Interesting.
I don't like yogurt.
You got a whole world ahead of you.
I got yogurt I'm very picky about. But overall, I would say I like Huckleberry Roasters, and I think that they've done a great. Also, they have great branding.
Mm-hmm.
And I will just say, the moment that they came into the North Side, my boyfriend at the time, my husband, was living in this band house, and it was so wild because during the 3 years they lived there, one by one, every house on the block got bought and scraped except for theirs. They were the lone holdout.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't their house. They were just renting it. But it was during that time when this whole block literally looks different. And I think sometimes us old Denverites associate those things with businesses or people. And initially, I think that was my skepticism, but they've stuck around. And every time I went there, they were so nice and their coffee's good. So
it's a great growing success story, I think, right now.
Denver. To me, it's one of those in Denver in 20 years, we'll be like, oh, yeah, Huckleberry Roasters, born and raised, you know? So.
They should sponsor the show. They don't. We've been talking about them for 5 minutes. They don't. They should.
I'm actually surprised we don't have a coffee sponsor. I would love to talk about coffee.
We should have our own CityCast Denver roast.
Oh, yeah.
Our special coffee. I would talk about it every day.
Well, this is just a call out to any of y'all Queen City downstairs looking at their cup right now. Anybody?
Hello?
Huckleberry?
Hello?
Hi. Give us a call.
We're interested. We're fans of all of you, except for your dry rolled oats. Sorry. They're probably not gonna sponsor
let's bring it on a positive note here, Paul.
No, love Huckleberry. I do love the product.
You guys are doing a great job.
Okay, it's Friday. We're talking about the news of the week, not just local coffee chains. We're here at the beautiful 5280 Magazine Studios. Bree is here.
Hi.
Hey,
I'm
Bree.
here.
And we have a great guest today, one of our favorite regulars, a contributor on politics and more, Deep Singh Badesha. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me here.
Anytime Deep is just like going buck wild on Twitter, we're like, well, better call our bro and get him back here because he clearly has some stuff to say.
Yeah.
Which is
The
honestly,
artist formerly known as Twitter.
I'm sorry, X.
Yeah.
That's just like, to be honest with you, that's how our conversation usually starts. It's like, did you see what Deep was saying on Twitter? It was insane. Oh, when do we have him back? And then we check our calendar. And we're like, oh, we got to have him back. So
I
good job on that.
You're on Blue Sky now.
I'm on Blue Sky.
now.
Blue
You
Sky
are.
is so soft, though.
I know. I was like, the tech podcasts I listen to make fun of it for being like too like hashtag resisty type.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like, I like to talk about Tabor a lot on X / Twitter.
As one is wont to
as
do.
one wants in Colorado politics. But like, it's nice on X, you'll get folks like Michael Fields to jump into the debate. Big Tabor defenders will jump in. Like the other side who likes Tabor will jump in. When you're on Blue Sky, you're
It's
like,
just agreeing.
everyone's like, yeah, Tabor sucks. And you're like, this is not nearly as
Yeah.
fun.
It's not fun. I mean, there's a lot of things about the last few years on social media that are
that is the
sad and
struggle.
upsetting. But the fact that it's also compartmentalized, that people have chosen their own echo chambers even more than before, like it's the product is worse.
That's why the golden age of Twitter, like 2012 or whatever, is like looked on upon as like a great time because of that, because it hadn't splintered yet.
I look into the golden time of like Facebook. Like when we were young, when Facebook first started, it was everything. Like people would just dump 200 photos from the weekend before on it. Everyone's events were on it. Everyone's like,
I had to be pulled kicking and screaming for MySpace to go there, so I don't have the same feeling.
I'm back on Facebook. I'm loving Facebook
oh
lately.
no.
Yeah,
I mean, all bots.
I know
It's
last
just- it's
Friday's
just
show
all-
was divisive, but Jason Heller is posting on Facebook all the
He
time.
does get
If
a good
If you want that old
conversation.
Denver crank opinion, the like record store guy who's going to judge your taste of music, he's fun on Facebook.
He's got a lot of friends on there too.
Yeah, it's
try to-
good conversation.
Maybe we got to get back on Facebook though.
It's time. It's time. The marketplace, it's good.
Marketplace,
It's time
yes.
for Facebook again. Not a sponsor. Anyway,
No.
let's move
No,
on.
Meta,
We got
not a sponsor.
some business. We are about 1 week away from
Heyday,
Hey. It's time for Heyday.
an indoor fair with a distinctly Denver twist. Our Denver party, our big Denver party about Denver.
Yeah, and you're invited. Tickets are, I mean, they're almost sold out, so
Yeah,
you really do have to get them now. You get them at heydaydenver.com. But really, the fun thing that you want to be there for, it's happening, I think, at 3 p.m. We're doing timed entry, so get tickets for the afternoon because you're going to want to see the Denverist Denverite costume contest.
Oh yeah.
It's not too late to enter. Also, there's a couple of spots open. So if you think you could be the Denverist Denverite as judged by such celebrity guest judges as Patty Calhoun from Westward, Kyle Clark from 9 News, our Green Chili and politics correspondent Justine Sandoval, and possibly one other secret celebrity guest judge who you know and love from the podcast, who will also be there to give away a killer
But
prize
you have to
pack.
come to see who that is.
You do. You
So-
do. I mean, you might see it on social media afterwards, but then, good luck.
But you want to
FOMO.
be there. You want to be the I was there story.
Yeah.
That's the whole LCD sound system. I was there when.
Don't wait. Get your tickets now. heydaydenver.com. All the links are in the show notes. All right. Let's talk about this top story of the week. This has been a huge story, slowly rolling out across the country. But this was the week where I really started feeling it in Denver personally. Our top story this week: this DOGE bites. As crypto enthusiasts gather this weekend at the National Western Center to celebrate record high valuations at their annual ETH Denver event, or ETH Denver. Sorry, I don't know. Many federal workers are looking for new jobs thanks to the government initiative named after a meme coin. And our shadow president, Elon Musk, and his work to ransack the federal government.
I don't know if he's a shadow or if he's just like literally next to the president
He's just sort of standing there next to the
while his
Resolute
child
desk.
is harassing the president.
Yeah. I mean, well, I have a clip from that press conference. We'll talk about it. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about, have you all heard any stories about people locally? I know there's been a lot of layoffs and threats of layoffs and offices closing. I got some specifics we'll talk about, but just generally, how are you all hearing from people about this? Deep?
I have had a lot of close friends who's worked for the federal government, just coming from the public sector myself. It's been a thing that people want to do, serve their nation, serve their country. And I was actually just calling a good friend of mine on the way. I'm like, hey, you're a federal employee. How's it been? And they're like, listen, right now we're all terrified about talking or criticizing anything that's going on, which doesn't feel like it usually is. She's like, I had to go into my bedroom, close a door, put on a white noise machine, and call you from a secure app, Signal.
My God.
Because I feel like they're hacking phones, they're hacking emails, they're hacking text messages, and they're seeing if you criticize in any ways, if there's any reason to fire you, they're gone. And it's also insane. It's like, you've probably seen that Elon Musk or like OMP or DOGE send out this email to all these federal workers saying like, hey, send me like a bullet point list of the 5 things you did last week. Now all these offices are giving guidance. It's like, yeah, respond to this email. And in that email, she said on the bottom of it, the guidance that she got from this department said, assume that what you write will be read by malign foreign actors and tailor your response accordingly.
Foreign actors.
What?
Yeah, malign foreign actors. So it's like not only is the call coming from inside the house, but also other people. It's insane.
I mean, this whole thing is so. I mean, I was saying before the podcast, like this is the biggest change in how the federal government works in my lifetime. It's so disruptive what they are doing, what Musk is doing. I don't think we saw this coming before the election. I mean, we knew he supported Trump, but the fact that he would have this much power and be this active in giving the federal government the Twitter treatment, it's scary. Who knows what's coming next?
Yeah. I've talked about it before. I feel like my cousin works for the Bureau of Indian Affairs. She got the fork in the road email prior to, and she was really like because she's kind of like almost retired, but like wasn't quite ready. And I'm not sure where she landed, but it was definitely just like at first she was in Washington and she was like, I better get back to Colorado because they're going to make us go into the office. And if I'm going to the office, I'd rather just go into the office in Colorado, be closer to my house, blah, blah, blah. But then that email came and I don't know where she landed with it, but I know that it was a big like, what? I don't know how to respond to this. I don't, and I find this approach, give us the 5 things you did last week or whatever, it just feels like a humiliation tactic to like make people, I don't know. It doesn't feel
make people justify their jobs.
Yeah. In a way that feels like not actually like a real conversation. We're going to feed these answers through AI and then that is going to decide your job. That just feels really humiliating for, like you said, Dee, people that devote their lives to this kind of service.
Yeah. Yeah, and for the numbers here, the local impact, it's not just a national story here. There's 57,000 federal workers in Colorado, and I saw 9 News reported that 40,000 had gotten this email with the ultimatum that was Monday to send this email to justify your jobs. Or take a hike.
That's so many jobs, Paul. We were talking about this the other day when we're looking at the news and we're looking at these stories about companies coming to Colorado or companies leaving Colorado, how many jobs are coming or going with them. And usually when it's a couple hundred, we're like, wow, this is a big story. Yeah. 40,000?
This kind of reminds me of like what happened in COVID. And I wonder if we'll have a similar support of workers after we find out what they do, right? When COVID happened, I feel like folks didn't appreciate teachers as much. They didn't appreciate essential workers as much, right? And when COVID happened, I think a lot of folks realized like, oh, wow, these people who are working these service industry jobs, people who are teaching our kids in schools, these are very vital jobs, right? And you saw huge union drives, you saw big strikes, and you saw the public really rally in support. I think this might be one of those times where like, when everything's working, you don't really feel it. Right. You're like, oh, that's working as intended. When things started breaking, I think people were like, oh, that's what the federal government was doing. That's what those departments were doing. They were making my life easier. They were making sure I got Medicare payments. My Social Security was working, that my water was safe, that the land was safe, that I could hike these trails, right? When this starts happening in Colorado, I think there's going to be a similar rallying around like these workers and what they used to do if they did get laid off.
Yeah.
The park ranger part is interesting to me because Colorado is so much about that. We know it. Has anyone tried to make a reservation for a campsite? Like, it's so busy. Those are big parts of who we are and our economy. And what, I read a couple of a lot of folks were giving sort of testimonials online. Like, this is the kind of thing I did every day, just so you know what I did. Like, I put out fires. I literally put out fires. I made sure campsites were safe. I made sure where you were camping was safe. And then all of a sudden those people disappear. It just feels like a recipe for disaster.
We know we have fire seasons coming up, right?
Right.
If the forests aren't being managed properly, if the federal government is dropping that ball, like
what does that mean for the...
Yeah.
I mean, same with the IRS. The IRS was one of the first targets of this DOGE thing. And amid a nationwide layoffs, 100 Denver-based employees of the IRS were laid off. And yeah, right ahead of tax season. What is that going to mean for folks? Who knows? It's hard to know.
Really
Another
scary.
one. This is interesting. The General Service Administration has been directed to terminate leases as quickly as possible, including, and I did the math here, 913,000 square feet under lease of office space in Denver at an average cost per square foot of $26, which is the Denver average right now. That's about $23 million. Plus all that empty office space,
like
which
a
we
million
know what the
square feet of
implications
office
are
space.
in Denver.
Do you know where these offices are? Because I know there was a big
wish I
Fed
did.
center out in like Lakewood.
In
area,
There
like
is, yeah.
Jeffco, yeah.
Oh, I should. I have some friends that work there. I should check in with them.
Yeah.
See what that's like.
Well, time to make a new food hall, I guess, in these vacant spaces.
Let's talk about the other side of this, because I think there is something that is not, there's not a connection being made here that I really want to talk about, which is they're not just cutting just to cut. You know, some conservatives do want to just slash government just because they like the idea of smaller government. But there is a plan, and regardless of what you think about it, I think it's important to contend with it. So this is what I was alluding to earlier from the press conference that Musk and Trump did in the Oval Office with Musk's young son crawling around. I wanted to pull this out because I thought this was the most interesting piece. So Musk is explaining that what he is trying to do is cut the deficit in half from $2 trillion to $1 trillion, while Trump removes regulations to, quote, free the builders of America and create economic growth. And so this is going to connect back to, I think, everyday Denverites. That's what I want to hear, and that's what I want to talk about here.
If you add competence and caring, you'll cut the budget deficit in half. And I fully expect to be scrutinized and get a daily proctology exam, basically. Might as well just camp out there. So it's not like I think I can get away with something. I'll be scrutinized nonstop. But with the support of the president, we budget deficit in half from $2 trillion to $1 trillion, and then with deregulation, because there's a lot of sort of regulations that don't ultimately serve the public good. We need to free the builders of America to build. And if we do that, that means I think we can get the economic growth to be maybe 3-4%, maybe 5%. And that means if you can get $1 trillion of economic growth and you cut the budget deficit by $1 trillion, between now and next year, there is no inflation. There's no inflation at 26. And if the government is not borrowing as much, it means that interest costs decline. So everyone's, the mortgage, their car payment, their credit card bills, anything, their student debt, the monthly payments drop. That's a fantastic scenario for the average American. I mean, imagine they're going down the grocery aisle and the prices from one year to the next are the same, and their mortgage, all their debt payments dropped. How great is that for the average American?
I guess if the 40,000 people in Colorado who don't have jobs are probably not going to have car payments because their car is going to get repoed. So that's what I'm thinking about.
You know, it's so interesting. Like, you know, Elon Musk has this like big visionary things. He moves fast and break, like the Silicon Valley mindset always like move fast and break things. And listen, he's had some success doing things, right? Like he has like revolutionized rocket technology, but that's after several rockets blew up. And the thing he's experimenting with now is the American economy, people's lives, people's livelihoods, like our national security, the health and safety of our food, the health and safety of water, right? This is not things you should just on a whim change.
Yeah, I've made this point before, but like the idea of cutting regulations as a goal kind of avoids the debate over each individual regulation and its purpose. And you know, maybe those are the debates to have, not just like, let's cut them all, or let's talk about each individual thing and whether or not it's worthwhile, and not this whole big picture.
And I do understand people's frustration with government, right? I understand whether it's like a local level, state level, or federal level, that if you've interacted with like a healthcare provider that's giving you the runaround, you're trying to build something in your backyard and it's not really working, there is frustrating parts of a bureaucracy that you like, this is not working for me, it's not there. I was actually talking to a Muslim immigrant, lives here in Adams County, and he was talking about how he did not trust the federal government because he felt like they were spying on their families, they were harassing them too much, they were visiting their mosques, and he felt overburdened. He also had similar stories to me. He was like, when you go to airports, TSA is going to give us a rough time, right? So your interactions with the federal government that way, that they're not good. But those aren't the parts that they're cutting, right? The parts they're cutting is like your Medicare, your Social Security.
They're cutting the parts that don't
SNAP
conform
benefits
with Trump's personal preferences. and his politics. That's the irritating. I think I agree with you. I think there's a lot of people who are like, the government is inefficient and it would be great to do something about it, but no one can agree on what parts are the inefficient parts. So it's the efficiency push combined with his authoritarian instincts to reshape it in his own image that I think is the troubling part, because that's where a lot of Denverites are going to disagree with him. And that's where we're seeing things that are making people upset.
And the collateral damage always just feels like the most marginalized people generally get impacted first. I'm thinking about the Medicaid issues happening right now and my friends with disabilities and how much that impacts their lives so much more than my life. And just the lack of nuance in this conversation about the approach of how, I totally agree with you, Dee. I think, yes, we have all had that experience of being on the phone forever trying to get something taken care of. But like just mass sweeping away these parts of the government is not going to, I don't think it's going to end up being a good thing.
It's scary. It's really
scary. And a lot of people are going to be hurt.
And Colorado's kind of gone through this before, right? Like there was a debate online that I was having with folks. Is like, is Colorado Tabor essentially our version of DOGE already, right? The whole point of Tabor is to limit government, limit revenue, limit how much it can grow. And it has made Colorado a sort of efficient and innovative state in many ways, but it's also really hindered what we can invest in, what we can grow, what infrastructure spending we have, how much we invest in the K-12.
People look at schools. Yeah, our schools rankings, like, shouldn't they be higher based on the strength of our economy? Maybe it's Tabor holding them back.
Yeah, so I think we've run this experiment before. It's not turning out great.
There needs to be a middle ground. Right.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, listeners, we want to hear from you. We know you're being affected by this. A lot of people you know are probably being affected by this. We want to hear the stories. What are the things that are not being reported that you know about because you're living it?
Yeah, especially if you're a federal worker. I'm so curious what that feels like for a Denver federal worker right now.
Yeah.
Let me show you this other message I got from another federal worker. They're like, do not include these terms in your performance plan. These are the words that say, do not include it because the AI will find out.
And fire your ass.
Yeah, it's diversity, health disparity, cultural competence, underrepresented, DEI, belong, accessible,
crazy,
bias.
This is what my cousin said about her. The fork in the road email was like, then she goes to her office and they were like, anybody whose job has any of those words in the title, any program that has any of those words in the title is automatically cut.
And you might have seen this, the Dear Colleague letter that was going around. The Department of Education said, hey, if you're a higher education institution or a K-12 institution that has diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives, we're going to cut your federal spending. So for Denver, for Denver Public Schools, that's $100 million, right? But what is diversity? What is equity? What's inclusion? Like, who's determining this? Some random AI that's just scraping websites?
This was interesting. I saw that CU rebranded their DEI office. They just called it something different. They're not doing anything different. They just had a different name for it to try to get around
Which
this.
to me feels
maybe
like
that's the smart thing to do. I don't know.
Is just, buckle down and keep yourself safe until hopefully this blows over, but you don't have to dismantle it fully.
Yeah.
It's not even March. It's just February. Oh,
Dude, I know. This is going to be the longest 4 years of our lives.
It's going to be a wild ride for sure. And like I said, we want to hear from you, listeners. We want to hear how you're experiencing this. 720-500-5418 is the phone number to call. Leave us a message, text us, tell us your name and neighborhood. 720-500-5418. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about a very important anniversary.
This episode is brought to you by CAP Management. CAP Management is a Denver-based HOA management company serving townhomes, mid-rises, and high-rises. From staffing, accounting, project management, careful reserve planning, customer service, and more, CAP serves properties that appreciate working with an engaged, proactive team with the expertise to work with the most complex properties. Many of their clients make up the skyline of our wonderful city. CAP is also the only HOA management company with a sustainability mission, dedicated to guiding HOAs and how to operate in a sustainable way, navigating ordinances like Energize Denver and Colorado's Building Performance Program. I'm just thinking about when my mom took over her HOA and got them to install those car chargers. Looking for Brooke to manage your property? Well, she's available. I'm just kidding. CAP is working to envision the future of the HOA industry, like their partnership with the University of Colorado to pilot the nation's first sustainable HOA certification framework. If your HOA is looking for help, visit capmanagement.com to learn more. That's capmanagement.com.
Folks, it's Paul here. I'm here to talk about Heyday,
Heyday.
the event that you might have heard us talking about before. I'm here with producer Olivia Jewelove. Olivia,
Hey. Day.
it's this new event we're doing. You can get tickets now at heydaydenver.com. But why would anyone do that, Olivia? Why?
So many reasons, Paul. For one, I'm going to be posted up at the claw machine, and you better get there before I do, or else I'm going to drain that thing of all those Denver plushies.
Yeah, you've been telling us you have a secret technique for the claw machine, which honestly I'm dubious.
It's called being better than everyone else at the claw machine. That's all it is. It's skill. And I'm going to drain it if you don't get there quickly.
So get your tickets now to heydaydenver.com. They're affordable. Bring your family, bring your friends. Get them now. We'll see you there.
I'm also going to be the best at the snowboard thing. Because I've never done it, but I'm going to be the best.
Get your tickets now at heydaydenver.com. And we're back. Our hot topic today is one of Denver's favorite things to complain about, the airport. DIA, formerly known as DEN, celebrates its 30th anniversary today. 30 years ago today it opened.
Congratulations.
And big plans. They got big
Happy
plans.
birthday.
Happy birthday, DEN.
Happy birthday,
Sorry,
Den.
DEN.
Dead naming the airport.
Yeah, so like 30 years, what it's going to look like in the next 30 years, let's talk about it. Deep, I don't know if we've talked about this with you, actually. What's your take on the
No,
airport?
so I wanted to do some research. You know, I'm from Colorado, grew up in Colorado, very familiar with the airport. I was familiar with the old airport, Stapleton.
Yeah?
So, yeah, when my folks first flew in, that's where they flew into.
Oh, okay.
But to do some research on this, I went on TikTok and I searched Denver airport conspiracies. And oh wow, is there some stuff going on?
Yeah,
You
got a
wouldn't
favorite?
believe it. You wouldn't believe there's conspiracy theories about this airport and its art.
It is pretty funny. Is like all the conspiracies are sort of couched in either like an ignorance or a slight hatred of Denver. They're like, why would they invest so much money into Denver, Colorado? They're like, why do we
This
need an
middle
airport?
of
They're
nowhere
like,
place.
yeah.
Denver who?
They
Never
were
heard of it.
Yeah, they were describing Colorado like how, you know, the Lumineers described Colorado when they got here, right?
Nothing here. Nothing
Yeah,
was here
nothing
before
was
us.
here. So it's really funny when you look at this conspiracy. It's like Denver didn't need an airport. It was perfectly fine before.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it's been a big business driver too. I mean, that's the real success story with DIA is it's gotten a lot of people to come here. It's made it easier to do business here. It's fundamentally a piece of transportation infrastructure that is provided by the public, by us, and for that reason, we have people interested in moving here, moving their companies here, and it's been hugely successful. Look at all the growth that's happened in the last 30 years.
Yeah. I just, I don't know. I think the transportation infrastructure component of this is interesting because it took us 20 years to get a train to it. And that is still my frustration is getting to the airport still feels in bananas. Like just the whole having to deal with it. Like I'm thinking about, I'm going to Miami next week and I have to take like 7 of my family members there from different parts of the city. How are we going to do this? And like, that's my still, I mean, I have a couple cranky things about DIA, but that's one of them is like, that part kind of sucks that we did that to ourselves.
The Peña Boulevard traffic you're talking about?
Yes, and just like how far it is and like how not convenient it is to get there. So that's just my...
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely heard that from people. I don't know if I'm not personally ever bothered by traffic, to be honest.
I know we have had this conversation. Paul
I'm just
doesn't
kind of
have...
aloof on the road.
Yeah.
That's
just
that's
checks
just
out.
me.
Taking the train has been game changing, though. It's been pretty
Are
amazing.
you taking the A line?
Yep, I got to take the A line. Luckily, I live in Cap Hill, so it's pretty
Yeah,
easy.
I was
just
going to
to
say, how do you get to it?
Yeah.
I think it's the thing.
living in Cap Hill is pretty easy. Just go up to either Union Station or you go up to the Blake Station and you take it. I'm actually hosting a conference in Denver for the South Asians for the Bar Association. So 1,000 South Asian attorneys are going to come here, and it's so funny is they did a site visit last week. When they were doing a site visit, they're like, "Yeah, I didn't know I was landing in Kansas." They're like, "This is my first time." They're like, "It took me like 45 minutes to get into the city."
That's one of my favorite social media things you see is like a comedian will get here or just, and then they're like, so I get to
So where's
Denver,
Denver? Yeah.
and it's not in Denver. We're like, yeah. Well.
You hearing about Lucifer from these folks coming in?
You know what? a lot of these folks, I actually suggest always taking the train because they're usually staying in downtown.
Yeah.
But on the way back, oftentimes folks will take an Uber or they're coming from somewhere else. I'm like, look out for the horse. And I feel like Lucifer's getting less traction nowadays because everyone's on their phones.
Interesting.
I feel like back in the day, you would like be looking up, looking around, you would see this horse, and you're like, what is this? But now everyone's just like, texting and stuff. So I've been asking folks like, did you see the horse? They're like, what horse?
Whoa.
So
Then they
That's
just
kind of a
Googled it.
bummer.
They're like,
Yeah, you
oh,
Google it.
okay.
I love Lucifer. That's where I'm at with Lucifer. Lucifer is only going up in my estimation as a piece of art. I don't love the demonic conspiracy theory stuff. Like ever since I heard that the lizard people thing was kind of an anti-Semitic,
Yes.
rooted in that anti-Semitic like protocols of the elders of Zion thing. Like I don't love that whole aspect of it. But like Lucifer itself is so beautiful. And when you think about what Luis Jimenez Jr. was actually trying to do, like being inspired by lowrider culture, and that's why the red eyes glow, and like that's why he fabricates it with the materials he does, like as a piece of Southwest public art and how iconic it's become, we should be so proud of it. We should be embracing it even more.
I agree. I'm in the boat that we need more blue animals.
Hell yeah, Steve.
good.
Get on. Get
get
on
the
the
blue
train.
bear.
Get on Paul's train.
Have you heard my idea about the elephant?
No, what's the elephant?
So Roger the elephant was the famous attraction at the Old Manhattan Beach amusement park on Sloan's Lake. I say we need to put up a beautiful blue elephant along in the water on the shore of Sloan's Lake.
Let's do it.
A third blue animal.
Let's just put it there.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, we're going to have to raise up a whole bunch of money to dredge the lake anyway. And like, we were talking to the mayor about this actually, and he was like, it's a good idea. We kind of need to do it, but also we're asking people to spend $250 million
On something they will never be able to see.
It will look the same after it's done.
It just won't smell and kill your dog.
How much do you think Lucifer and the Blue Bear cost to make?
Well,
I think we can
know
find that,
this. Yeah,
right?
Lucifer was like $250,000, $300,000 in like $2005. I don't know about the Big Blue Bear though. But think about the value that it has provided. It's way more than that.
Do you think CityCast Denver should have its own blue mascot as well? I think everyone should just adopt blue mascots now. I think that's the new thing.
I think we should do that. Elephant. Big Blue Animal Nation, rise up. Get involved.
Call the hotline.
Email me. I'm ready to talk about it. Okay, so I got to talk to you about something because I don't think people have heard this story. I bet you all thought I brought this Walter Isaacson biography of
I was
Elon
staring
Musk
at this.
for the first segment. But in fact, this is a DIA story that I don't think people know.
For folks that
Are
can't
not
see this,
looking at this.
Paul is holding up a book with a huge face of Elon Musk on it.
Yeah.
That's so traumatizing.
Yeah, published before the whole government chapter. He's going to have to write another sequel to this. Okay, so this is. I'm going to just read a paragraph from this. This is from right after Elon graduated from college, before he got involved in Silicon Valley. All right. When he graduated in the spring of 1995, Musk decided to take another cross-country trip to Silicon Valley. He brought along Robin Wren after teaching him how to drive a stick shift. They stopped at the just-opened Denver airport because Musk wanted to see the baggage handling system. Bree, you remember this baggage handling system?
There was issues with it before it opened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not working.
The underground tunnels.
Eating luggage.
Mm-hmm. So Isaacson goes on, quote, he was fascinated by how they designed the robotic machines to handle the luggage without human intervention, Wren says, but the system was a mess. Musk took away a lesson he would have to relearn when he built highly robotic Tesla factories. It was over-automated, and they underestimated the complexity of what they were building, he says.
Oh, so our crappy baggage system inspired.
Perhaps. I thought that was so interesting. This is from when the airport opened. They had this baggage system that was so expensive that tore up baggage, and now I think they've replaced it and they put all this old one in the basement out at the airport. And so Musk was there. He was excited about it, and he learned a lesson from it, apparently.
And now look where we are with Elon Musk. It's
Yeah.
DIA's
And
fault.
DIA. I don't know.
Maybe the
it's
conspiracies were right, you know.
It does seem like he would be involved in some of those things they talk about.
That's another thing about the conspiracies is it's clear that like Donald Trump and Elon Musk kind of like say whatever they want whenever they want.
Mm-hmm.
So if there was like aliens or like a big secret conspiracy, I think ironically they probably would have tweeted it by now.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a secret. Not with these guys. All right. So DIA, I don't know. Today, there's some big things happening out there. We've talked about this recently on the podcast. United might be moving its headquarters to Denver, which would mean even more flights and infrastructure, build new businesses,
That is so
more
interesting.
growth. That could be huge. And then also the other thing that's been in the news a lot is this new piece of art out there. One of Denver's most popular artists, Detour, Thomas Evans, recently put up this, he calls it, "It's not what you take, it's what you bring back." And it's this super colorful kind of parabola made out of luggage floating up in the air.
It looks so cool.
It looks,
See it in
I
real
still
life.
haven't seen it. I can't wait to see it.
The only thing I'm cranky about is DIA gets so much public art. And I know why, but like, I wish there was a little bit more in other places in the city.
Yeah.
But to be fair to Detour, what a cool opportunity to have I mean, not that he's unknown by any means, but now his work gets to be seen by like probably millions of people. Just so cool.
Yeah,
Love that for any artist.
I mean, it's a big stage. A lot of people coming through
Yeah,
there.
that's awesome.
Yeah, fascinating place.
So one last thing, the future. 30
Yes.
years from now, DIA will be 60, which is just 6 years short of how long Stapleton Airport lasted.
I was just going to say, that feels ancient in American times, and they're probably going to want to tear the whole thing down.
Yeah, that was my question. I mean, like we've talked about this a little bit, like what it's going to look like, what's going to happen, the development around there. We know that, the Great Hall project may or may not be done by then. They're aiming for 2027, according to Denverite, and the design specs for this thing show this giant tree with crystals for leaves where the South Security is now. They're calling it, quote, the living room.
The renderings are really cool. I will say we can put a link in the show notes if you haven't seen them. My frustration is there does not seem to be something that most airports are missing, which is an area for kids to go wild. It's just something you need. If you have a layover and you have a kid with you, they're going to go bother a bunch of adults. And I was like, man, they created all these cool spaces in these renderings, like seating areas that look like ski lifts and all this cool stuff, but there's no like playground. And it feels like such a missed opportunity to
I
me.
feel like the kids just love playing on those escalators, like those walking.
As a parent, it is terrifying because those things my kid had a very traumatic experience on an escalator. So all I'm saying, it's not meant to be played on. And I think DIA would want that also out there. Is like, it's not meant to be played on. So while yes, kind of, there just isn't enough for kids to do at airports.
No, for sure. I mean, and I feel like, when you're hustling through the airport, I have a terrible habit about Denver Airport where I'm like, I only need to get there 25 minutes beforehand. 30
you're
minutes
that guy.
beforehand.
You're that guy.
Yeah, I'm that guy. I have TSA pre and clear, so I'm even worse, that guy.
Hot shot over here.
You didn't grow up with
Hello.
like a parent that's like, we got to get there 6 hours early. That's my father-in-law.
Especially after 9/11, having
Fair.
folks with beards and turbans
less
in the family,
time.
I'm like, yeah, we're gonna get there a day beforehand, just because they're gonna put us in a room and they're ask us a lot of questions.
Fair.
And then eventually you can apply for TSA pre-check, and it changes your life.
This is the real Illuminati, I think.
I know.
It's
It's like, don't
TSA
you have
pre-check.
to,
Once
is
you
that the
get
one where you have to
involved,
scan your eye, or is that clear? I don't know.
That's clear. Clear scans your eye too. And
Okay.
So,
I have not done that yet for that reason.
yeah, I mean, speaking of government efficiency, that's what they should do.
oh yeah,
Yeah. So Elon Musk, DIA, come back where it all started.
yeah, hook it up.
Fix the
Bring
bags
the
and fix
lessons learned.
security.
Paul, what did you think about the renderings of this future airport?
I love it. I love the airport. I've said this before. I think the airport's great. And I think people complain about the construction, but they're missing the fact that what the construction is improvement constantly happening. They're reinvesting in the space to make it work better. The current security arrangement that they just finished
is
off this
great.
year, it works great.
I
It
love
works
it.
so good.
It does. It really does. I've been through it several times. It's very efficient. Again, coming through with a 3-year-old, it can be kind of stressful because you're pushing a small person who's not in control of their own body through that. It's so much easier with this new system.
You know what we should predict is what Denver restaurants will survive in 30 years to then get their own own restaurants in DA.
That's a
'Cause I feel
cash
you've
cow
really,
for those restaurants.
You've really made it as a Denver restaurant when you can open up like a satellite office or a satellite restaurant in DA that ends up doing like 3 times your margins.
It's crazy, that whole scheme. I still want to talk to the company that runs it because it's not even the restaurateurs that operate those
That's the part
outlets.
that really
it's just
changed
a
my feelings
licensing
about
deal.
this. Yeah.
Will Huckleberry in 30 years have a
Oh,
coffee
they'll
shop?
have one in
They
5
should.
years.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, I don't know.
They totally should.
Didn't we learn that the most profitable
Yes.
restaurant
Yep.
is in DIA?
I think it's like
the
the
Timberline.
5. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Timberline.
Which is wild.
I mean, all those people trapped, high prices.
crazy money
making
DIA
buco bucks.
is.
The one thing I don't like about the new security arrangement is I don't know if y'all have done this, but that one really long escalator down to the trains.
Yeah.
And when you look and there's just the one security person behind the little barrier
so bizarre.
wall,
I
and
always
you're
wave.
sort of making eye contact, and you're like
staring at you.
What are you looking for?
Yeah.
What are you looking at me for right now?
I would love to know what his checklist or their checklist is of like things I should be looking for at the like. Also, what's going to happen? Are they going to jump out and like
And it's
grab you
also-
off the escalator?
It's clearly also an oversight. It's because they don't even have like a proper chair or an office. It's just like
It's like a little
it's
corner,
like a fold-out chair,
Yeah.
Folding
and they
chair.
just put like a curtain.
It's so weird. Which also the escalator thing gets to something that does suck about DIA is when you get off the train and then 50,000 people are trying to get on 2 escalators at the same time, and it's like mania. And it's like this is bad design.
Well, that's the other thing that they're trying to fix, right?
Really?
We've talked about that. There's been some reporting, like in the Post, Denverite had this, but they know that the trains are overloaded.
Yeah.
Like they're getting too many people, and the trains from terminal to concourse, it's not the most efficient thing. That's overburdened. So they're talking about other solutions like gondolas from the terminals to the concourses, which is kind of a cool
like going
idea.
outside the
But it's
structure.
It's a big engineering challenge of like, how do you actually move people between those buildings? The other thing they're talking about is self-driving pods or like a land bridge. So you could make it these big walkways.
I was going to say that feels the most effective to me is just allowing folks to get there themselves, especially
Do you remember
if you use a wheelchair.
ever flying to Dulles Airport back in the day when they had these like AT kind of things that you would like get on and they would like cruise you around?
I know the exact things you're talking
Yeah,
about.
it was an awful experience.
They're very weird vehicles. It's like a unique thing I've never seen anywhere else in the whole world. Giant bus kind of, I don't know. I don't even know. AT-AT is a good way to describe it. They're weird.
Yeah, it always reminded me of like Star Wars. That way. Yeah.
I do think like, I don't know, buses is probably the thing. I think I've said this before, but like just a
That's
boring
what they do.
old bus is
That's
what's going to
kinda, I
happen.
think that's
BRT,
what
let's
they
do
did
it.
at LAX. Is like we had to take a connecting to get to Hawaii, and it was like get on 2 different buses, and I was like, I'm not even leaving the airport.
Yeah, the terminals have become so long. Like if you are in something like A99, you are walking.
And you're like
getting your
plodding
steps in.
along the way. You're like, okay, I better go to the bathroom now because I don't know when the next bathroom is coming. And then also, do I want to get coffee at this place? Because I might get to the end and there's no coffee. And like, it's just too, I don't know. It could be more designed like a mall, I think. I don't know. Something more, I don't know. It is missing, but I agree. It's just, it's daunting.
Bree wants something to be more like a mall.
Believe it or not,
Interesting.
everyone.
Interesting.
Mall, one of the most perfect, anyway. Victor Gruen, I could go on.
You know, in the
History of
future, maybe
malls.
we'll all have those like motorized suitcases too that you just sit on your suitcase and it'll just drive you. So, you know, future's
I
going to be
like
wild.
that. We'll see.
Honestly, that would make things a lot more accessible.
They have them for
Folks with
kids.
disabilities would be into that. I know. I would not put my child on one, but I have seen those.
All right, listeners, that's the call out for you on DIA. What do you want out of DIA in the next 30 years? What's your dream for the airport? Call
Ooh,
in.
ride or walk. That's like seeing an adult on a Segway.
All right, Olivia has pulled up this ride on the suitcase thing. Apparently, this is a product that does exist. We'll have to put a link to this in the show notes so y'all can see it. But anyway, listeners, we want to know from you, what do you want out of DIA? What's your dream for the airport for the next 30 years?
Yeah.
720-500-5418. Your wildest, craziest dreams for the airport.
Or just that little thing that would make it perfect to you that it's missing.
Love
Just that one little thing.
720-500-5418. One more break, and then we're coming back for wins and fails.
This episode is brought to you by the Nissan Armada Pro 4X. With a twin-turbo V6 engine ready to propel your adventures, up to 8,500 pounds of towing capacity to haul all your favorite toys and space for 8 passengers, Nissan's most powerful car yet will chew up and spit out anything you throw at it. Learn more about the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada at nissanusa.com. Towing capacity varies by configuration. See Nissan Towing Guide and Owner's Manual for additional information. Always secure cargo.
Hey, Fidelity. How can I remember to invest every month?
With the Fidelity app, you can choose a schedule and set up recurring investments in stocks and ETFs.
Oh, that sounds easier than I thought.
You got this.
Yeah, I do. Now, where did I put my keys?
You will find them where you left them.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
Hey, we're back. It's time for the best way to end the week. Wins and fails, aka Rocky Mountain highs and lows. Each of us brought a recent local something we think is a win and another we think is a fail, and we're going to talk about them. We're going to start with fails. We always do. Bree?
This headline was actually like all over the national news as well. Congresswoman brought her newborn to vote against the GOP budget bill. Colorado's own representative, Brittany Pedersen, was not allowed to vote remotely, so she brought her 4-week-old son to Washington so she could do the job she was elected to do. And this was a big vote, and I think that was important. And she, especially concerning Medicaid funding and some other issues, but it was sort of like this is like a multi-angled fail in that A, we wouldn't allow her to vote remotely 4 weeks after childbirth is crazy. But 2, then she got bashed online for doing it. Like, I can't believe she brought her baby to work. And this is a perfect example of this position that a lot of women are being put in, which is like, you should be home having kids, but then like you can't also have a career. Like, I don't know. I was just frustrated for her. And that image of her holding her baby was like simultaneously powerful to me and enraging, because we're trying to do the best we can. She's trying to do the job she was elected to do while also completing what is important in her own life, which I think we all feel entitled to do. And like, it's crazy to me. Also, for traveling with a 4-week-old on an airplane, I can't imagine the stress of that. So I admire her very much, but I also am frustrated that the conversation around this was it just was not productive. It was pretty awful. And I just don't think that we don't allow women to do multiple things in the world.
Just like patriarchy, right?
Yeah. Also, just like not letting her vote remotely. There was another someone else that had to come in after being in the hospital for 10 days post-surgery so that he could vote in person. And I was like, that seems dangerous for someone that just got out of surgery. And this is something that disability activists have been asking for forever, is this ability to do things remotely so that everyone can participate in big, important stuff in the world.
And Colorado already does this, right? Colorado, you can take votes remotely in the House and in the Senate, whether it's a committee hearing or on the floor. It's a leftover from COVID, and then everyone's like, they really like this. When you have an emergency, you have to be... Colorado's a big state. If you have to go back to the Western Slope or if you're in an emergency, it is good to take those remote votes. So it's something that can be done.
Has anyone abused it? Of just like not showing up anymore?
There's been sometimes when someone gets into like controversy, they've just decided to stop showing up.
Yeah, I do know who you're talking about.
There was like a representative, this was like 2 or 3 years ago, that caught in a substance abuse like DUI situation, and then they just was remote for the rest of the session.
Yeah, and that's but like also that's the risk, but also I feel like it's still outweighed by how many folks benefit from it for those various different reasons. Again, this is not just about childbirth. This is about other things in your life that we all are dealing with every day.
Absolutely. It's 2025. I mean, if you want government efficiency, how about virtually voting?
Right?
All right, let's move on. I've got a couple of fails. One is a small one. I mean, folks who have been following my journey through the Airbnbs of the city, thanks to my luxury home renovation / mold removal project, know that I've been living downtown in one of those big apartment buildings behind Union Station. My fail goes to all the friggin' jabronis in this building who don't know how to use AirPlay and keep trying to send their movies to the TV in my apartment. This happens every night.
Paul's dorm is wild.
I am not loving dorm life as a freaking 30-something adult.
I'm like, are they trolling you or are they just not that smart?
I don't know. I don't get it.
Are they trying to airdrop you weird pictures?
It's AirPlay, so they're trying to like send like a TV show from their phone to their TV.
But it goes to yours.
But there's like a million TVs in the building and they're all within range. So like Bill parentheses 2 tried to send me something and it interrupted my viewing experience. Was bummed out. But my real fail is this viral dog heist in Centennial. Did you all see this story?
Heist?
A dog heist.
A puppy heist.
There was a video from inside a pet store in Centennial that kind of went nuts this week. And you can see, there's so many crazy parts of this, but you can see it's a 2-man operation. One man pretends to have a seizure to distract the employees. Meanwhile, the other man goes and opens up one of the cases of puppies, which presumably are valuable for resale.
I looked at it. The pricing for those 2 puppies was almost $10,000.
Oh, wow.
What they were being sold for.
Okay, that answers one of my questions about this, because I was like, you can get a dog from the pound.
Right.
Like,
you can I call them my junk dog. I got my junk dog from the pound. But people pay a lot of money for these dogs with specific breeds. And that is a whole other ethical problem.
Yeah. They're the pro-animal future people who were trying to shut down the slaughterhouse. They're trying to get rid of puppy mills in Denver
which is
right now.
Mostly
That's their
where
next
these
thing.
Do you think that it's connected? Do you think these are the folks like stealing the puppies to free them? I don't know what you would do.
I don't. I think pro-animal future is better organized than these guys. Because what they did is they did the fake seizure, which was terrible, and it didn't distract the employees, because the employees then went and they were able to confront the guy who had grabbed these 2 dogs by the scruffs of their necks, and he went sprawling. The dogs went flying. Apparently he got away with one of the dogs because it has been found. Or it has,
there's one missing still.
There's one missing.
Oh wow!
But the video shows this was a pathetic attempt at a heist, and just a sad situation for this store. And
they're the young people that were working the cash register. I've been in that position. I can't imagine how stressful that moment was for them. I didn't sign up for this.
Someone appears to have a seizure, and then you're getting robbed, and then
losers.
Weird story. Deep, what's your fail this week?
So my fail was actually going to be talking about this vote that Congressman Pedersen had to go take.
Okay.
But I will talk about the other side about that.
Please.
That it passed only by 1 vote, right? And we have 2 of the closest Republican seats in the nation. Representative Hurd from the Western Slope in Pueblo, Jeff Hurd, and then Representative Gabe Evans, that's north of Denver that's Adams County area, right?
So what is this vote? What is the actual issue here?
Yeah, so the reason why it was so important for Brittany Pedersen to fly back for this vote is it was going to be a very close vote. Essentially, this will gut Medicaid. This is going to increase the deficit. This is going to give huge tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires. So is a huge priority to fight against this for working class folks, and especially for Medicare, right? And people who get Medicaid spending. The 2 congressional districts in Colorado that had the largest recipients of these funds, Congressional District 3, represented by Jeff Hurd, and Congressional District 8, represented by Gabe Evans. So it's such a huge fail that you're not listening to your constituents, right? You're not listening to the people of Colorado. Instead, you're kind of going to D.C. and you're becoming D.C.ified, right? We've seen this already a lot with folks like Lauren Boebert. And there was an aspect that maybe, Jeff Hurd will break ties, or maybe Gabe Evans will do it because they're in such close seats, and they didn't. So absolute fail.
So you're saying these guys represented districts that are benefiting from programs that would be cut?
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And they voted to cut it. And again, 1 vote.
Team players.
So we just needed one of them to flip.
Which is so why, understandably, it was so crucial for her to show up.
Yeah.
But
so
also,
she showed up for their districts with a newborn baby when they didn't.
Yeah, I had a lot of friends in the disability community protesting this week at the Capitol. Because again, like you said, cuts to Medicaid and Medicare impact those folks often the most. So,
well, if there's any listeners up in Gabe Evans' District 8, maybe you might be interested in the Democrat who has thrown his name in the ring to run against Gabe in 2 years, Manny Rutinel. He put out a statement this week criticizing this vote. He was like, my single mom raised me. We were recipients of Medicaid, and I would have voted the other way. Mm-hmm. So, he's been raising a lot of money. I think that's where some of the energy from liberals locally is going into those next races.
Yeah, that's been a tight district anyway, race-wise. So
yeah, that's an interesting one. All right, let's move on to wins. Deep, do you want to start us with a win?
Sure. Also politically themed. Welcome to the 2026 election cycle in Colorado. This is maybe a lot.
We're only in February of 2025.
Maybe it's a fail for everybody else, but it's a win for those of us in politics who can't get enough and hate our lives. It's a win for every political consultant. It's a win for, spam bots. I don't know. So we've had 3 people jump into statewide races this week. Kind of did a preview. We still only have 1 person for governor, but 2 people jumped into the attorney general's race. So we had Crisanta Duran jump in, Michael Doherty. Crisanta Duran, former Speaker of the House, first Latina Speaker of the House from Denver. She jumped into the race for attorney general. And then Michael Doherty, who's the DA for up in Boulder, also jumped in for attorney general. Several other folks are going to jump in. And then Breonna Tattone, who was the first transgender legislator in Colorado, flipped a pretty big seat back in the day in 2018, would be the second legislator or second statewide official ever in the U.S. elected to a statewide office if she wins. So pretty huge moves. And so welcome to the next 20
Welcome
months.
to the next election.
I know. It's a win for some folks.
That is interesting it's starting this early for these folks. And the Brianna Titone thing is like, that would be cool. That would be cool if that happened here.
Yeah.
If she pulled that off.
Paul, what about you? What's your win?
Okay, I'm doing a couple on this one as well. I'm sorry, but I have to give a win to Mayor Johnston for coming on the podcast again. We've been talking to him quarterly since before he was elected, and I just think that's a huge credit to him that he comes and is open and is willing to answer hard questions and talk to us about issues and share his thoughts. I think that's to his credit that he is so willing to talk, and I love those episodes. He's an interesting guy to talk to. Check out that episode if you missed it, or catch one of the 3 articles in the Denver Gazette with takeaways from our interview.
Number 1 fans of Denver CityCast is the Denver Gazette.
I think it's great.
It sounds
it's great.
like it, yeah.
It's great. Well, we're breaking
our
news.
colleagues are our fellows in the industry are listening.
He's going to go meet Lauren Boebert next week, and you two are probably the experts at Lauren Boebert.
We gave him some advice. I told him she was a dog person, so keep that in mind.
But my real win goes this week in honor of the Oscars on Sunday. There is a Denver-born and raised director named Scott Derrickson who made a really cool movie that's on Apple TV+. I watched it this week. It's called The Gorge. It stars Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy, and it's just like classic popcorn fun. They play snipers from like the Eastern Bloc and America, respectively, who are manning. It's such a weird premise. They're like the sole guardians of this mysterious gorge where it's full of like shadows and mist, and they end up going into the gorge and falling in love, et cetera. It's really fun movie. But I was reading an interview in 50 magazine about it with Derrickson, and he was talking about how inspired he was by the story of Rocky Flats that he grew up near, and is a similarly mysteriously, vaguely military kind of place. So, and I think I can see it in the movie. This is like a very Rocky Flats movie to me. This is The Gorge, and I had a great time with it. So that's my win. Highly recommended. The Gorge.
Anytime Colorado gets representation in the arts in some way, I'm stoked. So
even super indirectly.
Maybe a film festival is coming here too. It'll be exciting.
It's weird they haven't announced that, the Sundance thing. They were supposed to announce it around the festival in January. But
that must to me mean they're still negotiating.
Probably.
We got the biggest tax breaks, I guess. So.
We did offer
34
the biggest
million.
Tax breaks. Yeah.
I think.
Thank you, Tabor.
Bree, your win.
I wanted to give a shout out to my dear friend Alicia Sweeney. She's celebrating 25 years on Colorado airwaves this month. She has been doing radio here for a quarter of a century. It's so crazy. That's
incredible.
And what I love about Alicia is that she has devoted her career to bringing attention to local artists. So she hosts the Local 303 right now, which is on Friday nights at 9 p.m. At Indy 102.3. But also she's a daytime host. You can hear her every day. And she's just, I met her at a show, I think at Monkey Mania, a really old DIY space. She's always out on the ground, meeting bands, meeting artists, listening to folks, and then talking about it and trying to get that out to the larger public. She's going to be hosting 303 Day on Monday at number 38, and it's a local show with Slow Caves, Maybe Fern, and Velvet Daydream. And you can go and meet, honestly, you can go and meet her. She's like one of the nicest people, but I wanted to celebrate. She's a woman in radio. She was on 1190 way back in the day, and she's just a person who has been celebrating the culture of Colorado for 25 years and sharing that music with everybody. So
that's very cool.
She's awesome. So Alicia, I love you. I'm so proud of you, and this is so cool.
You know what the airport should do? Moving forward, she should get like a little welcome to Denver.
I would love that.
Rotating.
Oh, if I could hear my friend. Oh my God, I would love that. Not that I don't say when it's like Mike Johnson, I'm like, oh, I've talked to him before. I'm just saying.
I like when it's like random.
I know my family listens to the show, but I'm always like, guess what, guys?
I want Nikola Jokic to do one too.
Oh my God. I would also love that.
Talk to the airport.
Welcome to Denver.
I'm reading that book about him right now.
I don't know what to say about airport.
I'm learning a lot about his backstory that makes him make a lot more sense from this book that's Mike Singer wrote. But anyway,
yeah, we'll talk about that at some point.
Congrats, Alicia. Mm-hmm. Tune into Indy 102.3 and listen to her every day.
All right, we're at the end of the show. Deep, you talked about how you were on X still, but you launched this week. I want you to plug your new thing so people can read your stuff without going to X.
Yes. So because X is slowly just becoming even worse every day, decided to do some more long-form writing. And if you're interested in more Colorado politics, some insider-y things, you can go to my new Substack. Easy way to access it is actually just deepnotshallow.com, and that will redirect you to the Substack. But I just did a preview, a way too early preview, to be honest, 20 months out for the primaries and elections coming up from the Democratic Party. So if you're really interested in Colorado politics, take a look.
Well, I was there.
I was like, Paul's going to be all over this because he loves to take bets on these things. So
I do. So we're going to put a link in the show notes for you all if you want to get in the mix with me.
I also just thank you. I love when people take their creativity off social media and allow it to expand into a bigger space. So thank you for doing that so we can actually read more from you. That's great.
Well, I appreciate it.
All right. Well, that's it for the show. Bree, Deep, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
See you next time. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. Our producers this week were Patrick Emile, Olivia Jewelove, Francisco Kilgore, and me, Paul Caroli. Peyton Garcia and Adrian Gonzalez write our morning newsletter, Hey Denver. And honestly, Francisco helped out with that too this week. He's kind of been all over the place. Bree Davies is our host. Our music is by Los Mocochetes, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. If you haven't already, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at CityCast Denver, and tell Elon Musk about us the next time you see him. If you love the show, come see us in person at Heyday. It's next week. An indoor fair with a distinctly Denver twist. It's going to be a great time. Tickets still available, but get them now because they're going fast. Saturday, March 8th, heydaydenver.com. You can sign up for that daily newsletter I mentioned, as well as the Denverist Denverite costume contest, and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. See you next week.
My beard rubs like...
Well, that we like.
Yeah.
That's a nice sound. The listeners
the
love
ASMR
that.
level of this podcast. Deep's beard. And now, Deep's beard.